Hello everyone, it's that time of the week again, our Thursday tutorial time. Hope you're all well. Please, as always, do give me a thumbs up. Do pop me a note in the comments so I know you are present. And whoever's first in the house, can you just confirm that you can see me and you can hear me okay? Hello Carol, hello Francis, Tricia and Linda. Just in case you missed it, we did a live last night. Two of our lovely ladies are in the thread already, Francis and Linda. So if you missed our live with our announcements as well in our other sister group, Beaders of Beadsbyverchiel, make sure you hop on over and watch that. And thank you to those of you that were able to join us. It's all good, fantastic. So tonight we are going to be making a little bit of a sparkly bracelet using needle and thread. Now I'm not even sure if it captures the light on this, it probably won't right now, but that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to show you a couple of different techniques as well. Hello Jane. Grandchildren have gone out the door 5 minutes ago. That was good timing, wasn't it? Meg says she can see me and hear me okay. That's brilliant. Hello Meg. So in case you missed one of the previous tutorials, this is one of the necklaces. We didn't do the pendant, but we did this part of the necklace in a tutorial a few weeks ago. So this is really expanding on that to just do a straight bracelet. I can't remember what I was going to say now. It's completely gone out of my mind. Hello Annette. Hello Sandra. Now, the lovely thing is with this pattern is it's really versatile in that you can use different size beads, different shape beads, and the method is the same. So what I would say is do have a play around with the beads that you've got. I've also, all of the beads that I'm demonstrating on tonight are all available to buy in the group thread. I've also put some multi-strand vintage clasps up in the thread as well. So hopefully we'll get opportunity to have a look and see how it's actually attached. So we've got one way of doing it, which is where we've got the end culottes, and another way, which is where we'll look at attaching a clasp. So I'm just gonna go over to my phone and just set up the camera. Let's just move everything a little bit closer. I've got, oops, I've got one of these, you know, the circular lights, but it's hanging off by a thread. It's quite safe electrically. However, I really do need to get a new one. Right, there we go. I don't know why, but it always seems to lock into... Oh, sorry. I think that's okay. Let's have a look. Hello, Kim. Right, there we go. So this is the bracelet. If I get in, you can actually see the crystals on the top there. I'm going to show you how you do that. That's the one side. You can just keep it plain without the crystals. So we're going to look at one method, which is with the clasp, a single clasp and using a culotte. So let's do that first of all. I'm only going to be working a sample piece because you don't need to see the whole thing. You only need to see sort of the start, the finish, all of it, but a small part is what I'm trying to say. But I'm going around all the houses to get there. So I'm using Nymo thread. I'm waxing it because I like to wax my thread. How much thread you use is up to you because you are going to need to add more in anyway. So this is the method that we use with the culottes. Not trousers, culottes, which are these end tips. They're called end tips as well. So they've got a hole in the bottom, and I like the ones that have got the pre-formed holes where you can add your clasp as well. Okay. On this one, I'm just going to add 2 needles just to start off with, but it's only really literally to start off with. Like we did with the necklace, we're just going to use 1 needle to thread the beads on. Trust me to pick a super fine needle. So work with as long a piece as you can. So I've got both ends a needle on there, and I am going to pop a crimp bead on there, or a seed bead if you wish, and pop it in the centre of my thread. And now both needles, I'm going to actually pop both needles through the culotte so it sits inside of the culotte, like so. Now I do like to keep the culotte open for a bit in case we want to sort of tighten up a little bit. Now I've used a slightly different colour thread, so basically you can actually see what I'm doing. Now these are the black Chinese bicones that have just gone online. So we're going to start off with 4. Oops. So we've got 4. And we're just going to go back around those 4. And just tighten those up. Now I am doing it slightly differently, bear with me, which is just messing the whole system up really. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring this needle the other side of that first bead. It's just so that it sits centrally. I might have made a bit of a bag of spanners. I might have to start that again. Yes, I have. Let's start again. I've made a bag of spanners. I apologise. It happens. I think I'm having one of those days today. I'm having one of those days like you had the other day, Kim. Except I'm trying to rush everything and it's not good, is it? It's not good. And then of course when you start again, if you're not careful, you split your thread, don't you? So that's not how it's done on this method. What have you all been up to today? Have you been busy? I'm just trying to think what I've been doing today. It feels like I've done loads, but I'm not really sure if I've achieved loads. Do you have days like that? Right, we're just starting from scratch again. But I've been trying to get bits ready. It's my youngest son's 13th birthday tomorrow. And he is so getting into his teenage years. You know, the teenage grunts, bless him. There we go. Start again. So Kim has been photographing and putting loads of her clothes on Vinted. I love Vinted. I bought, sometimes if I've bought myself an outfit, now this is what I should have done, is you add 4 but you just go back round the 3 so it sits properly. What I do is if I buy a nice little outfit that I really love but they no longer stock it in that particular shop, I like to get another one, because I don't know about you, but I always tend to spill things down, you know, what the items that you really love, I tend to mess up really quickly. Right, so I've added 4, I've just gone through 3, but to pull it in close together, I'm just going back up through the culotte, just to pull it in. I'm going to go back through the crimp bead that's in there, and back down again. And what I was trying to say, because I'm getting sidetracked, is I go on Vinted to see if I can get another one of that particular style, you know, if they're no longer available in the shop. And more often than not, you can actually get them. Right, so I'm hoping, I know it's black, 13 already, I know. I just don't know, you just blink and it's gone. Right, so I'm going to bank the other thread. We'll come back to that after. I'm going to use that to keep attention, so I'm just popping that around my little finger. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one single row of right angle weave. So we're going to add 3, and you're just going to go in the other side of that crystal. So that is bead 1 in your next group of 4. So Kim, you get loads of bits from Vinted. The only thing that I didn't realise initially is that you pay commission as a buyer, don't you? They do it the other way round. So you just have to bear that in mind, but it's still brilliant. So there we go. We're going to add another 3. So Meg's been waiting for parcels to come. Luckily, all 11 arrived when you were at home. Wow, that is a lot of parcels. I bet the postman loved you. Hopefully they weren't too heavy. It's always great when you get delivery day, isn't it? Right. So there we go. We're going to do a little bit more, just to give you a real feel for the whole thing. Now you can, if you wish, keep it nice and slim. You don't have to make it any wider, but I would reinforce by going back round again if you can. And always start the next group on your last bead. Okay, all right so far. Let's just do 2 more and then we'll add the culotte the other end. Just make sure I haven't. So Trisha's been busy, housework, made 2 necklaces. Oh, the comment's just gone. Watching embroidery, watching me, then rugging. Brilliant. And Frances met her beading buddy, and oh, you did a netted bauble. How fantastic. They're so wonderful. That's such a nice feeling when you finish those beaded baubles, because there's a lot of love that goes into those. Right, sorry if I keep going off camera. I'm trying to keep on there. Susie said sorry, nodded off. Hopefully, Susie, that was before and not after you joined us. I wouldn't blame you if you did. Right, okay. So what I'm going to do on the last one is I'm just going to go add 2, like so. Reinforce by going back round. And then add 1, because it's a slightly different angle to go up the culotte. Okay, so this time you want to go up the culotte this way so that the culotte is pointing that way. So you want it to sit in the middle, and add a crimp bead and then go back down. Now pull the tension so that your culotte sits nicely, and just do a little bit of reinforcing before you start. Now what we're going to do before we do anything else is I'm going to show you how you widen it on the bracelet. Now if you pretend that this is the full length of the bracelet, it's exactly the same technique to do it. I'm just showing you a shorter version because the technique's the same. Right, okay, so this is what we did with the necklace as well to actually broaden it. So we're going to add 3 just to start off with, and then we're going to go through that end one there. So that's our number 4. So always think in groups of 4. I do hope that this black is okay for you. If it's not, I'll do another colour on the next one. So we've done that group of 4. And what we're going to do next is we're going to push our needle through the next one in the group. Next one that you did before in the previous row. Add 2 this time. So you're adding 2, so you're going to go through 1 from the previous row as well, like so, and then go through that one. So our group of 4 comes from 1 from the previous row. So if I just show you that, so those are your 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you've borrowed 1 from the previous and borrowed 1 from there. And we're going to go, so pretend we've reinforced. I'm running out of thread, so in fact we won't do that because that's not quite right. Let's just undo that. Right. So we're going up this time, up through the crystal, and then we're going to add 2. So we're using 1 from this group, adding 2, and then coming back through the 1 on the bottom. So again, thinking in groups of 4. Right, I'm going to tie this off because I'm running out of thread, and I'll very quickly show you how to tie off and tie in a new thread. So go underneath the thread bars, make sure you give yourself more thread than I have, and before you pull it tight, just pop your needle through the loop to pull a knot. and repeat that in a couple of different places. Now I'm going to cut this up afterwards anyway, so you would have done that a couple of times, and I'll show you how to add in some thread. So Kim's saying that the extra bit you pay on Vinted is for insurance. Yes, I think it is, and it is brilliant for buying. I don't know about selling, but that's nice to know. Don't worry that you're late, Carol. Now, Carol, you might want to hop on over and have a little listen to last night's live in our Beaders group if you missed the awards, because you might be very happy to see some of the awards on there. Sandra said no post tomorrow or Saturday. Oh, they're on strike again, right. So what I do to add in thread is I just bring my needle back a little bit from where you're going to be. Have a tail so you keep hold of it so you don't lose that thread, and tie in 2 to 3 different places. So I didn't hold on to my tail. In the same way as you tied off. Now follow your thread path round. So you've done that in a couple of different places. Oh, you had Amazon. I know a lot of people don't like the monopoly of Amazon. I have to say, I think Amazon are rather good. You know, and if you desperately need something the following day, it is good, isn't it? I'm sorry about the colour thread, but I wanted you to be able to see it. Add 2. Where are we? And go through 2. Oh, that's all right, Susie. I'm only joking. Oh. Right, so I'm just reinforcing back round and going up. Hopefully you can all see how that's growing. Does it all look okay so far? Right, so add 2 and come back this way. So basically you're alternating the direction of your thread each time. But all look okay so far? Right. 1, 2. There we go. Whoops, getting that stuck. Right, so we are going to make our way around to this side now. Now I cut that out, that tail. So we're going to widen it this side now. Let's have a few more of these. Yes, do hop on over and have a look, Carol. Right, so add in 3 on the first one and going back round. So you always add more on the first one. And just turn your work round just so that it's easier for you to maneuver. So we'll do this and then I'll show you how you add those crystals on the top. Right, so on this one we're going to go up and we're going to add 2. But all okay so far? Does it all seem okay? So again, we're borrowing one from that side. Let's keep checking I'm on line. This time we're going to go down, so you're picking up from the next row, adding 2, so you're adding 2 and you're going through this one here, so you're linking a new bead and a previous bead. I'm not going to reinforce that, but isn't it lovely the way it comes together? The other thing is, I actually I found a vintage necklace the other day that I really would love to replicate, and it's got right angle weave in it, and it's got like these swags in it. So it's a choker necklace and it's got these beautiful swags of pearls on it, and I thought I would really like to replicate that. But a lot of the vintage, not a lot, but there's a fair old bit of vintage jewellery that uses the right angle weave technique. Right, so we're nearly there. So basically the one in the middle, this one, we're not actually adding any further bits to. Now if you wanted to make it even thicker, you could, if you wished. So I am just going to bank that for now. In fact, I'll tie that off just so that we can cut that. And then what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how you add the crystals on the top. Right, don't do as I do, do as I say, okay? Make sure you tie off on 3 different places. This is only a test piece, so I'm not worrying too much about it on this one. Now, again, you can play around with what you put on top. Now, what I've got on this one, have I got them out? Yes. What I've got on this one, they are gorgeous. They aren't the cheapest to buy, but they're beautiful. They're Czech Precosa, and that's what I've put on this one. Now, I have actually worked out how many beads you need if you're using the 4mm per inch. I will put that up. Now, I thought what we'd do is we'd try these little crystal rondelles on the top. So this is a proper glitzy one. I think these are 3 by 2.5 or something like that. So I'm coming out of the top one here. I'm going to let that sit in that gap, and then I'm going to go through this one here. So that sits in there like so. Then we add another one and push our needle from left to right. Add another one. Add the needle from left to right. So effectively what you're doing in this row is you're stitching the top 2 opposite beads. Now we're going to do it again in a second in a different colour, because I'm not sure if you can see it that well because it's black. Now the other thing to say is you don't have to fill on top of all the holes. So say for example you want to invest in a little bit of check bling, you know, the bicones, but perhaps you don't want to spend out on the amount that you have to do. I think you'd need about 3 packs. You could just sort of fill it in different parts. So let's just, so you can see that. Isn't that lush? I love that colour combo. So I'm going to just manoeuvre my needle around And right, where am I going with this one? Let's just go back round here. So you're just trying to maneuver your needle around so that you can actually go to the next part. Now, if you're filling in the next part, all you're doing on this one is going straight down. So adding one and going straight down. That's because obviously you've got them going in different directions. But like I say, you don't have to fill all of the gaps in. Hello Jackie, don't worry, no problem. Okay, isn't that lovely? Right, so visually it's quite difficult sometimes to actually see where you're at with it all. Right, so I am going to go from here and come across. Whoops. So like I say, you don't have to fill all of them in, but I'm going to show you anyway, so at least you know how it's done. So I'm going to go left to right this time. Hello Betsy. But are you getting the gist of that? Or is it difficult for you to see? If it's difficult for you to see, I'll switch to the other piece. We'll start another piece. Let me know. So you're coming out from this side of the crystal and doing a left to right. Now these are an absolute bargain, these rondelles. You get like 11 or 12 inches, something like that, for £1, maybe £1.30, £1.40. And when you think the check are £3.50 for 50, you know, it's a bit of a bargain. Right, on this one, I'm actually going to go back up through the culotte, which is another reason why it's a good idea to keep that open, because it's a good way of getting you to turn your needle back down again. So go through and down. Right, I think I've gone a bit ahead of myself here. So we've got another row of going straight down. Right, I have to confess, Betsy, I'm actually right-handed. However, for some reason, my actual computer that I'm driving off actually mirrors everything. So we could get the best of both worlds, and if you're a right-handed person, I can do a video flip and put it on YouTube for you. So we cover everybody that way, don't we? I think this would make such a gorgeous, gorgeous choker necklace as well. Obviously on a much bigger scale. Whoops. Right, so we're on the last row now. Oh, I'm glad you like it. I've unthreaded my needle again. Bear with me. Why have I got such a skinny needle? I think I've got a size 12 needle there. Not a good idea when you're doing a live, I can tell you. Right, hopefully we'll just have enough thread. Obviously, if I was doing this like for real, you know, for a proper piece, I'd be using black thread so that you can't actually see it. But it's really important in the process that you can actually see it. So the last row, so basically you've got a couple of diagonal rows and a couple of the rows you go straight. So you come out of this side and then you go the opposite side, and then it just sits in that gap. Do you know, you could also use, I think you could use size 8 or size 6 seed beads as well. Is the thread gonna take us to the end? Oh, have we got 1 or 2 left? I'm glad you like it. I mean, it may have been designed before, but it's one that you know, I didn't see any other videos, but I'm sure someone else has probably thought of this. But I just thought, oh, I like that. Let's give that a whirl. Right, so that would be a nice Christmassy number, wouldn't it? So you would just tie that off. Now to finish off, what you would do, so pretend we've tied off, okay? Let's cut that off. No, we'll leave that there for now. Right, so you don't have to crimp the beads, you can if you wish, but you close that up. You close that up. And then you would add your jump rings, okay? So you'd have your clasp one end. So when you're making the length, just take into account the clasp length. Now obviously I've got an extender on this one, so I've got the jump ring pointing at 12 o'clock. Make sure you use thick jump rings with these culottes, because for some reason any gaps with the culotte, it just seems to find its way. So I attach that one end, and there we go, that the other. Okay, so that's how you would do that. Now if you're not really keen on the look of that, let's have another look at a different one. Okay, and let's use some glass pearls with this one, because I think you'll be able to see it a bit better. Right, let's just have a little look through your comments. Now we've got another 20 minutes, so again I'm just going to have do a small one. Now these glass pearls, these are an absolute bargain, they really are. I will order some more, so if you do want some, even though we're selling out on those, just pop a comment as to how many you'd like, because they come within a few days for me anyway. They're not branded, they're Chinese 4mm. Okay. Sorry, my screen is having a moment. Carol said it looks amazing. You seem to know exactly where the next step is. Not sure I would be so confident. What we're going to do on this one, we'll do a thinner band. Okay. Yeah, it would make a good hat band. I'm going to wax my needle. I've got to try and remember how I did it now. Where's my other piece? That's it. So we're only going to use one needle for this one, because we're going to attach the clasp afterwards. So this is a technique we're going to do where you do not need to use culottes. I have a confession, I haven't done this before. I did a little sample piece earlier on, so you know, you might have to just bear with me a little bit. Hopefully it works out as it does in my mind. Right, so I'm going to use a little seed bead, a size 10 seed bead, to add as a stopper. Okay, and maybe have 5 inches on the end, go back up it. That doesn't form part of our pattern, that's just really to give us some foundation to start with. So this is a different way round, so we're going to use 4 beads, which we did before, but the last bead will sit differently. Okay, so 4 beads, go back round the first and make sure you reinforce. And then you're going to add it in the same way. Okay, so you add 3. So where the tail is, we're going to add our clasp on there afterwards. So add in 3, and we won't reinforce because we're running out of time, but I'd encourage you very much so to reinforce. Add another 3. Yeah, these are £1.15, and I think it's a 16-inch strand. And to make a bracelet, you'd need 2. Only 2. Now, it seems like a good idea not to reinforce, but as you can see, it's not the best because it comes loose, but I'll try and pull it tight. How we do? We've got 15 minutes, so we're doing all right. Can you see this one a bit better? I think it's a bit visually easier to see, isn't it? If I didn't keep putting my hand over the top. Just line that up. It doesn't matter that your bead's coming out at the side there. So like I say, you could just do a single one and you could just add those beads. You could still add the beads in the middle, even if you're just doing like a single row of 4. Right, so let's pretend that we're getting in a right muddle. There's no pretending there. Right, let's pretend that that is the length of the bracelet we want, but we want to widen it. But we don't want to do it quite as wide as the other one. Okay, but we do the same method. So we're actually going to go to the next one at the side. And we're going to add 3. Remember, you add more on the first one. And then what you would do is you go up that one, and this time you're going to add 2. So you're combining this row with that row. So you're just going to add another 2 in. And you're going to bring your needle back round this side. I'm using my left hand, I don't know why I'm doing that. Going up. This is quite a nice width, and the good thing about not having the culotte is you can kind of decide as you go what width you want. So we're going to go down there and through the next one, then add 2, go down that one there and that one there. And then you go up, add 2. So effectively you're linking 2 parts, aren't you? On here you're linking this side to that side. Just think in groups of 4. And then we're going to go down there and up to the next one, and then add another 2. All okay so far? And we're going to go round like that. So we're happy with the width. It's a little bit thinner than the other one, but I like it. If you wanted to add on again, you could add on the same side, but you just start adding 3 on the first one, then 2. So let's add some embellishment on the top, and then we'll look at how we can incorporate a clasp. Okay, so we're coming out of the top. Let's use some of these silver crystals again. So we add the crystal on the top there, so it sits in the middle, and then we're going to go from one side to the other, and that sits in like so. Add a crystal. You've all gone very quiet, or I'm not getting your comments. And then go from one side to the other. So you're basically anchoring both sides. So you're coming out this side and you go the other side to anchor it. How are you all finding this? Is it all okay? Again, coming out of this side, anchoring the other. Do you know the other thing that I thought that you could do as well is you could always incorporate different colours if you wanted to. You know, you could change if you wanted a multicolour bracelet. Okay, so that's the one side, and then you could just do down there if you want to, or you could do one in the middle. Now, because I need my needle pointing down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little knot in at the top, like so, and that will enable me to start coming down so that I don't undo it. And this one, you just go all the way down. Whoops. Because the holes are in a different direction. It is definitely easier to see with the pearls. I'm glad about that. It's black doesn't seem to be a very, you know, you think it's going to be a really good colour if black is a colour. Right, okay, how are we doing? 8 minutes. Right, we do just fine and dandy there. So we're going to go through the top one now. Okay, and let's just add those. So you're coming out of one side, so you're coming out of this side, and then you want to anchor it the other. And then what that does is it sits on a diagonal. Obviously the one in the middle sits from a different angle, but that's fine, that looks nice. Oh, thank you, Susie. Right, what am I doing? I have to confess, I absolutely love vintage bits and pieces, and I have got lots of vintage clasps. I think I don't know about you, but I have these moments where I have slight fads on things, and I'd go through a fad where, oh, if there was any vintage clasps, I'd want to buy them, and then I'd stick them in a box, and then I think, well, what was the point in that? I've got it all in a box. This doesn't make any sense. You've got to do something with them. So I thought, you know what, it's time to part with some of them. Okay, Francis, you're very welcome. Enjoy wherever you're off to. Right, so there you go. That's that. Now let's have a little look. What clasp have I got? So you could actually do something like this, which is like a 2-strand clasp. It's maybe a little bit big for that. That's not the best colour match, but I think it's a better size. So again, they're vintage, and what I would do is I would switch to some seed beads and add it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. As I said, I haven't done this before, so you will have to bear with me a little. But I think it's very much kind of play by ear, if that makes sense. I think I'd probably go for less beads than that. Bear with me. I don't like the look of too many. I'm going to just add 2. So I'm adding 2. You could use little 15s if you want to, if you're feeling that that's less bulky. And then I think what I would do is I'm going to see how that looks if I come the other side. It might not work. I don't think that would work because it would make it flip over. So let's just undo that. But this is very much, you know, I don't mind showing you things like this where I've actually not done it before, because if I'm honest, this is what I would be doing. I think it's good for you to see that things don't always flow, and you have to experiment in order to move forward with things. So I think what I would do with that is I would have that one coming out of that side, and then I'm going to go through the next one. You might find visually a different way of doing it, but personally that works for me. So I'm doing 2 coming through the back and adding 2 and going through the same side. So what I would do as well is I would reinforce. It's really, really important to reinforce on a clasp, okay? Because what you wouldn't want to happen is you've got a lot of tension and pressure going on when you're opening the clasp. So I would go back around that, like so, go back through that. So just go up, through, just follow the path of it through, and I would do that 3 to 4 times. Okay, so that would work for me. So that's a nice little vintage clasp. So if we compare it, that's how we had the culotte. You don't even have to have a vintage clasp. It could be a modern clasp if you want it to. It could be a slider clasp. And then obviously you do exactly the same the other side. But as we're coming to an hour, I'm going to leave it there and hope that that has given you all some inspiration to try something. So we've got the bigger one, then we looked at how we could add a vintage clasp. You know, obviously if you do more, if you'd make it wider, you can add a bigger clasp on. And we also looked, isn't that sparkly? Do you know, wouldn't they make lush earrings? I rather like that. So let me know, which do you think was your favourite of them? You know, do you prefer the wider band, or do you think that it's a little less intimidating to perhaps try the thinner version? I think the possibilities are endless with it. I'm going to have a play when I get a moment to do this choker, which has got these nice little swags as well on it. Linda said, that's fab, Rachel. Thank you so much. Great ideas flowing now. Brilliant. That's what it's all about. And please don't forget to share your makes in our other group, Beaders of Beadsbyverchiel. And a big thank you to our lovely Linda, to Kim and Francis for the lovely live that they did last night with me. Linda definitely would like the wider one. Brilliant. I love the wider one. And I think that's it. So there will be a giveaway, so just make sure whether you're watching on replay or you're watching live that you comment and preferably like the post. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to go and have my dinner now, possibly a glass of wine. So enjoy, and I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.